Good evening. My name is Pono Barnes. I'm a public information officer here on the Shelly Fire. Good evening. Thank you for coming to our community evening, and thank you for joining online if you're watching the live stream. We've gathered a team of folks here to answer your questions. But before we get started, a couple items. We have restrooms out that back door and to your right. We have waters in the back if you need any refreshments. Throughout the presentation, please hold your questions to the end. A lot of you may have some similar questions to be asked, and we can do that more efficiently once all of our speakers finish. And then for those of you online, please, throughout the presentation, feel free to drop any questions in the chat, and we'll get those addressed here live in the room, or we'll follow up with them in the chat or at a future meeting. And so to begin, we have the current situation and fire behavior with Operations Section Chief John Chester.
Good evening, everybody. John Chester, Operations with the Shelly Fire. So just a real quick update. The fire is currently at 15,362 acres, 13% contained with a total of 3,077 personnel. So getting into the where we are currently with the fire, I'm going to start out a little bit broad and then work my way into around the fire just so everyone has an idea of the actions that have been taken on. And so up here below the Scott River Road, they've been doing some contingency actions, brushing and preparing roads that go out to Lovers Camp, masticating and chipping, doing some fuels reduction essentially on those roads, moving out there. And it was 4 proposed contingency lines to the north. Coming down to the south, some of you may know that on the roadway on the Sawyer's Bar Road, they've been doing some mastication and chipping and removing the vegetation off the side of the road to make that a more viable option in the event that we were going to need that if the fire moved to the south. Coming up onto the fire up here where it slopped over the kind of the ridge that runs between Patterson Creek and Mule Creek, they've worked very diligently over the last few days. From this DP16 area coming across, what it has shown on the map here is Taylor Divide. Tremendous amount of work and effort and labor has gone into mopping that up, getting lines in direct on the fire's edge, and securing that fire's edge off the black edge where meets the green with really aggressive and mop up. So we've got that in probably anywhere between 200 and 500 feet where it's safe to do so with the snags and the fire weakened trees that are in there. So very, very aggressive mop up across that area. Coming around kind of this northeastern corner, coming down into what is Division Charlie and Delta. Again, we've got good containment lines on there. It's held through several wind events today and yesterday, which was significant winds that were up on the fire. And the extreme amount of effort and labor that has gone into making that a very holdable and viable option is showing with the containment that we continue to have there. Coming down into the southern part of Division Echo, or Delta and Echo, continuing to make good strides, buffering this piece in here with direct control lines and aggressive mop-up in there as well. The folks are in that area too, 100 to 300 feet in, really securing those lines and making sure that it doesn't have any more eastward progression. Coming around this little piece right in here, that has been kind of the most recent effort, making sure that we get some dozer lines in. That's kind of pushed out. It's been in some real rocky, rough, rugged terrain. We've got hand crews and dozers going in there as direct as possible with some backing it up and reinforcement with hose lays. And we're turning the corner and coming back down into Patterson Creek and starting to work our way west. So a tremendous amount of effort that's gone into that. This part of the fire in here has not moved for multiple days. It remains stagnant, but we're still looking at that, and we're still looking to get people to continue working that edge all the way up to the Pacific Crest Trail and the wilderness line there. Coming around into 6 Mile, so the right fork of the North Fork, where it has come down in this area. We've got some local crews, resources from the adjoining forest, and then this forest, the Klamath, inserted them a wildfire use module and another crew that have come in there, and they're starting to work that edge and really taking their time to make sure that the heat that's in there does not cross that fork of the river, and then they're going to start working their way north up here to this Pacific Crest Trail. It says C12 up there in the bigger letters, but we've inserted a crew in there today, and they're going to begin working their way south. So they've done some scouting. We've got all the appropriate safety measures in there with medical folks and safety to ensure that we have a safe, productive operation that goes in there. And the intent is to tie all this piece off so that we have no further spread to the west. Coming around up here into the Kidder Creek, where it comes back up here to the trail and it comes out to that western edge there. We've got folks in there. There's some really steep terrain in there. We're following that up with hose lays, some tremendous effort with the hand crews by both the state and federal agencies in there. The kind of work that you just would not have imagined happening here on the Klamath that has gone into there with the steep, rugged terrain, tying it into some really open and rock barriers that are up in there. So they're doing a tremendous amount of effort and labor, and they're getting that stuff tied in, pumping out of the creeks, and building tremendous trenches to keep rollout from occurring. So that's the general overview of what we're doing on the fire, and those operations are going to continue for the coming days as we get warmer and drier, really securing those lines and making sure that it doesn't have any more spread from the current footprint. On the fire weather side, or the fire behavior side, I was asked to talk about that a little bit. So across the top here, where we've put in a lot of that work, isolated heat that's showing up on the IR that we've been getting daily shows that stuff is mostly interior, isolated pieces, probably some large heavies that are consuming, nothing that is threatening the line or expected to threaten the line. And that remains constant as we come down around the fire's edge over here. We had one little piece in here today that was a little bit more heat that you might have heard the aircraft working that this afternoon with the current winds and everything. That stuff was would have been pushing back up the hill, but it was very isolated and hitting it very hard with the aircraft. So, but no threats to the line. And then as we come back down in here, this other piece, this piece over here is really, really tough terrain, gigantic boulders, steep slopes, and the same thing over there with the fire behavior. It's isolated, large diameter snags and such, creeping and smoldering where that is occurring, but overall, nothing is threatening or is expected to threaten the lines that are in.
Thank you. And next up, with fire weather, we have our incident meteorologist, Jonathan O'Brien.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name's Jonathan O'Brien. I'm an incident meteorologist trainee here on the Shelly Fire. The weather, as you know, really cut us a break a couple days ago after a bunch of really hot and dry days. We had that thunderstorm activity Sunday and Monday. I got some rain on most of the fire, had our relative humidities really come up, and that acted to really dampen down the much more active fire behavior that we had been seeing previous to that. So that was really good news, really calmed things down. And then yesterday, of course, we had our wind event. We had a strong southerly wind event. We were getting several hours of wind gusts, 30 to 40 plus miles per hour up on the ridges, which combined with the warm and dry weather we had yesterday was made for pretty significant fire weather conditions, and the fire and the lines that are out there held up really well against that. Looking forward, we're going to be going back kind of into the same sort of hot and dry pattern that we've had for much of this month. So that's going to be the main challenge looking ahead. It's going to be a steady warming trend into the weekend. Even beyond typical summertime heat, it's going to be getting back close to where it was for a lot of this month so far. So it's going to be staying hot. It's going to be staying dry. One of the challenges up on these mid and upper slopes is that a lot of times during the overnight hours, those relative humidities really don't come up all that much. It allows the fire to burn actively through much of the night. So we're going to be dealing with those hot, dry conditions really for the foreseeable future. And we'll be dealing with some areas of breeziness as well. Typically this area, especially in the afternoon and the evening hours when the fire tends to be most active, the winds want to come in from west to east. They want to come in off the ocean. And there's a lot of complex terrain features in this area, and they will act to channel and funnel those winds through the landscape. And the result is that most afternoons and evenings you'll get some degree of a southwest to northwest wind, and in those windy areas you can get wind speeds of 10, 15 miles per hour with gusts 20 to 25 miles per hour. It's not crazy strong, but when you combine it with the sort of heat and the dryness that we're going to be having, it just adds a little element of challenge for crews out there in the field. So still some weather challenges coming up with the heat and the dryness, but going into it in a much better position than we were with the previous heat over the past couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have our agency administrators. From the Klamath National Forest, we have the Acting District Ranger, Danica Carlson, Shasta Trinity Deputy Forest Supervisor, Carrie Otto, and CAL FIRE Siskiyou Unit Line Officer, Kent Cunningham.
Thank you. So, hi everyone. I'm Danica Carlson, Acting District Ranger for the Salmon and Scott River Ranger District and an Agency Administrator Trainee for the Shelly Fire. And just a little bit of background, I grew up in Scott Valley and I've worked on this forest since I was 19 years old, so have a lot of vested interest in these outcomes and all the hard work that the crews are doing out there. So I don't have much for you all. I want to leave as much time for questions and answers as we can. So just wanted to acknowledge that it's been I guess about 2 weeks now since the fire started, about 10 days since the first round of evac orders came out, and we've all been through a lot as a community in that time, and I know it's been hard, and I know that there's just been a lot of frustration and worry and heartbreak over seeing part of our valley on fire, and we've got a great crew out here continuing to do everything they can to minimize that footprint. And today as I was driving through the valley and kind of caught that moment of the clear air and being able to see up the drainage there, it kind of ran through the full gamut of, I think, what a lot of us are feeling right now, of first off just feeling thankful that my house is still safe, but then feeling really that sense of loss of seeing an entire watershed have fire go through it. And so just know that we're still taking this really seriously. We're not getting complacent on the situation out here. We know that while things are looking pretty good right now, it's not out until it's out. So our crews are out there working hard. I think we're up to about 13% containment, which is great. And we're just going to keep improving that and increasing that as we're out there on the ground. So thanks to all the crews and all the support that it takes to make that work happen. It's a big effort. Couple other things I need to mention is just, it's really amazing we've had the amount of resources on this fire that we've had, but as we all know, it kind of comes with that mix of just this influx of all this stuff into the valley, and especially now with some of the orders being lifted and changed to warnings, we just need to continue to be really mindful of our driving and all that extra traffic, and just really have our heads up for that and be as patient and as accommodating as possible while the crews are here doing all the work that they need to do. We also, in addition to and separate from the evacuation orders and warnings, we do have a forest closure order that is still in place, and it encompasses a bigger area from the fire footprint because we really try to include any trails that are going to lead into an area that might not be safe, and include the areas where we have equipment out working in the woods. But we'll be looking to change that as soon as we can. And if anyone needs to find it, it should be up on our webpage for what that closure order looks like. And the last thing I wanted to say is just to acknowledge how unbelievably amazing our community is. Whenever we're faced with any kind of hardship here, it's just unreal to see how everyone steps up for each other and checks in on each other. People were donating money for sprinkler kits and helping evacuate animals, and it's just another tribute to how we are as a community and how we get through things, and I want to thank you all for that amazing effort. Thanks.
Thank you. Good evening, Kent Cunningham, Deputy Chief Operations here in the CAL FIRE Siskiyou unit. So we've had a lot of successes over the last couple days, and that's due in a large part to the collaborative working relationship and the unified command that we've had in this unit. So we're not out of the woods yet, but the way things are going, we're making really good progress, and that's direct relation to Matt's team, Team 12, you, the cooperators, our local unit firefighters, now Team 1 coming in, and Chief Magana with Team 6. So we're looking forward to more progress every single day to try and get this thing wrapped up. So we appreciate all your support. Thank you.
And from the county, Siskiyou County Board of Supervisors, District 5 Supervisor Ray Haupt.
Thank you. What a great night. What a difference 4 days makes. And for those of you who don't know, yesterday I was able to usher Congressman LaMalfa around. He came in, as he always does. He loves Scott Valley. Every time there's smoke in the air here, he shows up, mainly to interface the team, make sure that the federal government's providing everything they can for the fire. And I told him, he probably provided too much on this fire. I've never seen so many people in Scott Valley. But we're grateful for that. And then he just wanted me to show him around town. We ran into people and just talked to people on the street, which is him. He's pretty low key. Tonight before you though, I'm grateful, really grateful. This is the first year in 3 years that I haven't stood in front of a public meeting at the end of a major siege and talked about the loved ones we lost. Thank you for getting out of the way, and thank God the fire didn't do what it could have done here in Scott Valley. And it's a testament to the team that was here, the tremendous work they did with not even losing a structure. I didn't think that'd be possible in Kidder Creek, honestly, given the fire behavior that we saw in there. I'm also grateful for each of you. I've talked to my phone's burning up every day from a lot of people wanting to talk to me, but I'm just thankful and I'm honored to represent you and to be your advocate with these teams when they come in here. It's pretty important that you have a voice with these teams to express what you're going through and the needs that you're suffering. So with that, we'll get back to Scott Valley humdrum life here pretty soon. Thank you.
All right, next up from Siskiyou County Office of Emergency Services, we have the Director of Emergency Services, Brian Shanoni.
Thanks. All right, thank you, I appreciate it. And thank you for getting my name right. And so a couple things real quick tonight. I say real quick, but we'll see what happens. I'd like to thank every one of you out there, as Supervisor Haupt did. This was a tough one, especially being a Scott Valley resident and having to push evacuation orders and warnings for our own area and knowing that we could be affected as a whole for Scott Valley. So that was tough. Know your zone. We talk about that a lot. This is a good reason why you should know your zone, right? We want to push that. We want to make sure that you guys know that. So when we're pushing out those evacuation orders, that you know if you're affected by that. If you're in town, it's very easy. It's Etna, ETN. If you're out in Fort Jones, it's FJ something, sorry. And then if it's Siskiyou, it's just Siskiyou County. But know that four numbers the four numbers at the end of it. It's really important to know that when we push those evacuation orders, it's a lot easier on our end to push that very quickly, push that very fast instead of saying this road to this road to this road to this road. And I know that's frustrating for some of you. Each one of these events allows us to really take an after-action report, look at what we're pushing and how we can better carve up that zone to get those affected versus big, giant swaths of land. As we know, Siskiyou County, we have some huge zones that are as large as some of our neighboring California counties. So we're really trying to be cognizant of that and make sure that we're getting those areas that are targeted with population. So with that, Ready Siskiyou alerts is how you're going to get those alerts, how you're going to get those warnings and orders. And also, as we've said before, those orders are going to come along with an iPause. So we're going to push an iPause. If you do not have a television or social media, one of the ways that you can do that is through a weather radio. Like it's called a NOAA weather radio. You can get it on Amazon. I think they're about 10, 12 bucks. Keep that on during fire season. It takes very little battery. Throw that on, just keep it on in the corner, and you will get the, I'm not going to make the sound, but you'll get the alert sound coming through your weather radio. Yeah, so good way to do that. one thing really, I want to thank all of our partners. So whether it be an ambulance, Aetna Fire, Fort Jones, Aetna Police, everyone who's really involved and been a part of this and part of our discussions have been really huge, major part of our planning decisions, but also our animal shelters who just step up. Like when this happens, as soon as we push our order and our evacuations, that is the very next phone call is where our animal's going to go. And I know that there's a hesitation to want to leave, right? I know that personally my wife is hesitant to leave with our dogs. So to know that they're going to be cared for, they're going to go get, we had donkeys, we had peacocks, we had everything. And we went and visited the other day. Everyone is very happy. They're getting delicious food, hay. I've learned a lot about livestock that I never thought I would know about. But yeah, so our little temporary animal shelter is awesome. So I want to thank everyone, SNP, Rescue Ranch, all of our livestock paths, everyone who's been involved has been huge. And then lastly, two quick things. This is a good example of preparedness, right? So we're in Scott Valley. This has not happened to us in a very long time, right? Yeah, so this was not something we expected. Having a few days of food, having a few days of water and clothes packed. They don't have to be your very best clothes. They can be thrown in a backpack and just kept by your door because you never know when you're going to have to leave. I used this the other night, but this is a great example of that push and how fast an order can be pushed out in the Paradise Fire that we had in Montague. We were pushing orders out within minutes, and some of them stacked right on top of each other. So having that and having the ability to leave quickly is so important, and having also, this is really important, but also having a plan for your pets. How are you going to get them out? Throw their collars on so you can grab them, pull them out, and throw them in the car. It's going to be very important. Those are valuable seconds. And then lastly, hate to end it on this note, but this is only July. August and September are right around the corner, and we have known to have fire season throughout our years, so make sure that we're prepared. Community preparedness creates community resiliency. So if you're prepared and you're able to evacuate and understand the nuances of an evacuation, then being that part of that preparedness will also create a more resilient community. So with that, thank you.
All right, and with an evacuation and repopulation update, I have the Siskiyou County Sheriff, Jeremy LaRue.
Okay. Thank you very much. A lot of great words that we've just heard, and I appreciate Brian and Supervisor Halp. These fires are emotional. I stood here, I think, I don't know when it was, our first community meeting, and I mentioned to you that it's going to be rough, it's going to be difficult, but we would get through it together, and that is what we're going to do. So you know, we speak of this as though the fire's out. It is not out, as we've heard, and not to be the bearer of bad news, but we need to be ready, as Brian spoke, because it could change. Anything could happen. Fires do their own thing oftentimes, and we try to be prepared. We try to get everyone ready, but we can't guarantee that there won't be another evacuation warning or an order. So just keep that in mind. So law enforcement, we have the privilege of serving. We have the duty to protect everyone, including your life and your property. And it also comes with challenges because it is probably one of the most frustrating parts about a fire, because we are asking you to do things you don't want to do. Just recognize there's a reason for that, and it is frustrating. I was not evacuated personally, but I've been working every day out here with the teams and seeing what's going on. And I do have compassion for you, those that have been evacuated, those that are worried about their animals, those that are worried about their property, food in the fridge, anything and everything. I've heard a lot of it, and it is something that doesn't just go away from us. I hear you on that. So just a little bit of information of what we've had here. We use what we call law enforcement mutual aid to come and assist us. And this period of time, which is about the 9th through the 18th, we had 584 law enforcement officers from outside of the county assisting us with road closures and patrols to ensure that people aren't getting into property, looting, and committing other crimes. So that's very impressive. And that was from 34 different law enforcement agencies. So we are, and I want to thank those agencies. I won't go through all of them, but for what they have done for us, meeting us in this moment of a disaster and a crisis. I want to thank Cal OES for assisting us in getting those resources to our community. And you'll probably still see them out for the next while while they help us make sure people get back into their homes. So in addition to that, we had what we called the community support line. And it was an effort to sort of get you guys in and out, either for an escort or having us even go and feed animals. We tried to make all kinds of accommodations because we want to meet you in your time of need and try to go above and beyond. That's sort of what we do in the law enforcement community. And so we took over 275 calls from people, and we made over 230 escorts. So we were doing a lot of in and out. In addition to all of that, we also went door to door. We had time. A lot of times with fires, we have just moments to get to you and to try our best to knock on doors and make sure that you know what's going on. We push out the alerts, as Brian mentioned. With things changing so rapidly, we had iterations of evacuations, and then we would go back in and talk to people and just see what was going on out there. So during that, we were able to visit 832 different homes. We utilized our search and rescue team, which did a fantastic job of going and talking to people, finding out what was going on your property, what needs you may have. So everyone did a really great job. I was very proud of everybody. And I would say that what we do up here is a model for the rest of the state. We do an excellent job in Siskiyou County. And with that, I mean, I hope you understand that our obligation is to go above and beyond. So we want to make sure that we are providing good service. And I know that there are frustrations that come with that. I mentioned early on we had 2 arrests for people that were running roadblocks. That won't be tolerated, and it wasn't. But by and far, the vast majority of people did great. And I appreciate that. And that people that are listening, either at home or in here, thank you for collaborating with us and just cooperating with what we had to do. Again, law enforcement's difficult because we are, like the parents you never wanted sometimes that tell you can't do things. And we don't get any joy out of that, but we have to do whatever it takes to keep you safe. And you may not realize what's going on. You may not have all the information behind the scenes that we do. We just ask that you trust us. That's a big part of this, is trusting us. And if you can do that, you will find out that just like today, we have 0 fatalities. We have 0 structures because of the excellent work from the different cooperators and collaborators. So trust is a big thing. And it may be frustrating, but I need you to do that, and you did that, and you met us in that time of need. So from here on, you will see us still out and about. And if things were to change, we will push out those alerts and warnings, whether they're a warning or an order. Just remember, an order means get out immediately. Warning is not that it could change from warning to an order very quick. So just keep that in mind. When you look at the map, always be ready. If you have special needs or you have equipment that you need to get out of the house, or you have pets, or you are elderly, whatever the situation may be, you might need more time to get out. So don't wait till the last minute. We do our best to get out and go to door, but again, sometimes it's fast, and we need your help in that. Last thing, every day we look at maps, law enforcement, fire, we try to determine what we can either downgrade on warnings, road closures, changes. We do it multiple times a day. The experience in that room is not just from outside the county, it's local people from various agencies. So just recognize that when we're making those decisions, there are people that are familiar with the community, and it's not just people that may be from outside that don't understand Scott Valley or wherever we may be. So we do have people that are experienced in the local community in those meetings, and they help guide us so that we can make good decisions to keep everyone safe. So again, thank you very much for, again, being supportive and for being able to trust us during this difficult time. Appreciate it.
All right, and with closing comments, we have our Unified Incident Commanders, Matt Conklin, John Goss, and David Shurik.
Good evening. My name is Matt Conklin. I'm one of the Unified Incident Commanders here, and I'm in command of Incident Management Team 12. So I want to share a little bit of information as we've transitioned the incident organization through some leadership. Cal Fire Team 6 came in and we briefed those resources on Monday. So we've been in unified command with Cal Fire Team 6 since Monday. Today, we briefed California Incident Management Team 1, which is John's team there, and they will be assuming command after us. Tomorrow is our last shift as California Team 12, and so you'll see a few new faces. So I want to introduce them. I personally want to thank you for your guys' service and patience with us. When we had our first community meeting in Quartz Valley about 10 days ago or so now, I asked for a little bit of patience with us as we try to get around this fire. You guys have exercised that patience, and we very much appreciate that. And in return, we've done a pretty decent job getting around the fire. We're not done, but we have done some trench work out there, and we really appreciate your assistance and the patience in working with us to be successful on this incident.
Good evening, everybody. David Shurik with Cal Fire Team 6. And as we say, it's a unified team, unified front. We work together seamlessly. And so that's where this working relationship's fantastic. But a lot of good words tonight. I don't have a whole lot to say that you haven't heard already. I do want to say thank you for coming tonight and coming to these community meetings, because it is important for everybody here to hear your voice and reaching out to your supervisor and conveying that message, because we go to a lot of places that I know sometimes it's looked at, just you're from outside of the area, but we really truly do listen. And that communication, every community is different, and we can support you in different ways the best we can and tune what we do every single day to support the community even better and make those adjustments to make sure that we meet your needs. So with that, thank you, and I'll hand it over.
Hi, good evening, John Goss. So I'm that fresh face incoming incident commander, and I've brought 75 additional people to this incident as well to bring together to this unified front as we continue progress on this incident. So even though we do have different color shirts on, and you probably heard 3 different numbers already, the good news is it doesn't matter, because this truly is a unified effort. It has been since the very first day. And the expectations from myself and the fellow ICs is that will continue even though there is a team transition coming on Friday. So the goal is to have a unified message. This is one fire. It's one team that's packed into that lovely field down the road. And we're all here for the same reason, is to basically get your community back to what it was before as quickly as possible, and that's our goal. So thank you.
All right, and now we'll begin the question and answer portion of the evening. We would like to make sure that we keep all of our questions related to the Shelly incident and they pertain to this fire. If you have a question in the room, please raise your hand and we'll have a PIO come over with a mic. Please wait till you get the mic in hand, because we have people watching online and they can't hear your question without it being in the microphone. So we'll get the mic over to you. We'll have our subject matter experts here answer the questions, and we'll also have questions submitted online. We'll work through the room, and then anything that hasn't been answered online, we'll go ahead and get those questions answered. And if we can't get that resolved here, we'll take that information, we'll bring it back, bring it to a future community meeting, or reach out directly to you to get that handled. And with that, do we have any questions in the room? We'll start back here.
My name is Skylar Schneider. I'm a born and raised Scott Valley native. Spent my whole life out in Quartz Valley. I I got a few comments and a few questions. Start with, haven't had a fire, I heard one of the guys say here, threatened Scott Valley in a few years. And we just had the log fire out in Quartz Valley up on High Peak 3 years ago, threatening to come down into Quartz Valley and threaten our structures. At no point during that fire, or any point during that fire, did we have any road closures or mandatory evacuations. The fire never proceeded down the hill, and everything was okay. Next thing, first off, I want to say thank you to all the firefighters, everyone that came to fight the fire. I truly appreciate everybody, but I have been in what I would call an open-air prison for the last 9 days out in Quartz Valley, with the last 5 of them having no fire move towards Quartz Valley and still no road closure change. And I heard LaRue say that he was listening to everyone and all the people, all the locals that were giving him information. And I know that Ray Halp was voicing his concern about opening the Quartz Valley Road, and it never did get opened. Not until this afternoon did it get open. And it's been better part of 6 days now where we've had no fire advancement into the Mill Creek drainage. Like I said, we had a fire in the Shackelford drainage on High Peak 3 years ago, threatening to come down. Never once did any of this this road closure and 507, however many cops he said, for 6 roads, to close 6 roads: Patterson, Partridge Pines, Kellums Lane, Kidder Creek, South Kidder Creek, and Quartz Valley Road. Seems a little excessive, if you ask me. I don't know. Also, the people that got arrested, or one of the people that got arrested, was trying to clear a ditch to allow water into the pond that they were dipping out of. I don't know if he's still in jail. I think he is, but that guy got arrested. He was trying to help out the fire, and he was on his own private property as well. And the other incident, I do believe, was on Frieden's Corner, with the man that lives in the house on Frieden's Corner, and his pool is, quote unquote, behind the line, and he as well had guns drawn on him, and it was a scene. I just want to make sure that the community and everyone making the decisions is taking into consideration the livelihoods of the people that they're closing the roads to. Yes, I did have the opportunity to evacuate, and I did not. But I also have a ranch that has a big garden that I survive on for a large part of the winter. I have animals that have to be fed and things that need to be taken care of on a daily basis. I couldn't go out or in, and I was in no imminent danger for several days. And I just want to make sure that moving forward that we do a better job of listening to the community and the people that are giving advice or giving whatever to the head of the fire, and consider, if you were in my shoes or in these people's shoes, would you be okay with being locked in for 9 days or whatever it was, and not being able to return if you left? And that's all.
So I can have the sheriff kind of touch a little bit more on those daily evacuation and repopulation meetings that go on. There's a number of cooperators that attend those, and that coordination has to happen in concert, and we can maybe touch a little bit on that.
Yeah. Well, what I would say, I mean, I have compassion for you, but as you indicated, and this is, I mean, it's just, we have to do things systematically. If you're in an order that you have to evacuate, that's what we try to accomplish. If you remain in an order, you make it very hard, or anybody does, makes it very hard for us to really deal with, because you're not supposed to be there. So when you you're staying in emergency, we're trying to get you out, creating additional emergencies, that makes it very hard for us. And it's not personal. This is not personal at all. But we get informed every day and have to make decisions about who can be evacuated and who can be put back. And so what I would say to you is, it is unfortunate. You could say it sucks. You could say whatever words you want. I take no pleasure in kicking people out of their homes for fire. But if you do get an order, you have a responsibility to act. And so if you remain behind, you're kind of creating your own emergency. And I don't know, we tried to message that early on. We explained that. We had people go door to door to even talk about that. And so we tried our best to do that. I mean, we're not going to force you out, but if you remain in the order, I mean, it creates challenges for us. And that's why the roadblocks are there, to prevent people from going in, looting homes. We have to control it for fire personnel too. So what I mentioned earlier too about trust, you do need to trust, or you should trust, that we're all kind of working on that behind the scenes for your safety, for your life, for your property. And we made escorts so that you could go into the area to take care of animals or gardens or whatever it may be, and then come back out, because we don't want you to be in harm's way.
Yeah, let me, we'll have Chief Cunningham talk a little bit more about fire behavior here.
So originally when this thing came up and over the PCT, the fire behavior that was exhibited that night coming down Kidder Creek. 5 days ago. Yep, was pushing hard, was spooling. We also get weather reports and all those kind of things too. So like the sheriff said, we take no pleasure on that, but I tell you what, I'll hang my hat on that we haven't lost any homes and nobody's died. What kind of decision would that be if I delayed in recommending those evacuations and something happened to somebody because I delayed that, right? So I understand what you're saying. I'm just asking that you see the other side of the coin for me a little bit when it comes to fire behavior and the way that thing was pushing right there.
I do. I worked on the interagency San River hot trap group for a year.
For sure. So you know then.
I know, and most of the people towards the valley have a lot of common sense, and they know as well. Just as well, it'd been 5 days since the fire on our front on the top of Mill Creek. Yes, he said that it did slop over, but you guys were on it and you air tankered it. You guys took care of it, did a damn good job, and it stayed in the backcountry more than 3.5 miles from where we live down there. The houses that were across the highway from Cheeseville and Eller Lane, they were not under evacuation or road closed deal like we were, and they were in more imminent danger than we were. Mm-hmm. And those are that's, I mean, like, if you're considering all the things that every day, how many days does it normally take? Actually, and how come up until this point we have never had that log fire that was 3 years ago right behind my house that we had? Like I said, I don't think there was any additional resources as far as police officers ordered in for that fire. There was no road closures then, and I don't see there's too much of a difference in the situation other than the people that are running the command.
Yeah, I think, and you're probably right. It probably is different people that are running the command. But we make the best decisions we can with the information we have. I cannot have people in there while we're up there trying to catch that thing, making a direct attack, and you know what I'm talking about, and it blows out, and now I got to drop somewhere else behind, and I got to keep going. We're trying to get up there and get the best we can, but we need to make sure folks are stayed out as the best they can. So, and you're right, maybe it was different management, and I'll take responsibility for that. I'm the deputy chief of the unit. So, thank you.
Awesome. All right, we're going to take some more questions. I will have one of our information officers come break out with you right after, but we want to keep it moving and get some more questions answered here in the audience. We have a question right up front here.
Hello, thank you all. I'd like to thank all the first responders for your amazing work, and the fact that we haven't lost any structures in life is a testament to the job you all are doing. I know it's difficult for you, and appreciate what you're doing. My question is mostly about, as we ran around the fire at the beginning of the meeting, I think it was a little quick, and I'm a little thick, and didn't really pick up on. And I have questions just about what kind of fire activity we have between Division Echo and Division Delta. It looks like that side there, like right there at the 25 road closure. I'm wondering, yes, how we're sitting on that and what kind of resources we have in that area, because that really is what is affecting this specific area the most, I believe.
So currently in that area, like I said earlier, we've made tremendous progress in that area, and so we still have a lot of resources in there. Got line around it. Essentially what we're doing is that mop up. So getting the heat that is closest to the line that poses the largest threat if something were to happen with winds, et cetera, crossing the line right there. So we're working that back. And so we have some standards of 100, 200, 300 feet that we look at to reduce that spotting potential. In the weather forecast earlier, right, we heard that there's going to be some southwest winds coming in here. And so really making sure that we get that buttoned up so there's very, very, very little risk that can spot out of there. And so we have got a tremendous amount of folks. There's 3,077 folks on this incident. And so there's a lot, and we got a lot of places to put them in. This is a high focus point for us. We still don't have that as black line, so we're coming down around here. It's got line in it, but we're just trying to secure that up. We want to make sure that we do everything we can to prevent further spread north up into the communities up there of Quartz Valley, Greenview, the surrounding communities there. And we also want to make sure that we prevent anything further coming out and coming down into Etna. And so we are taking a really focused approach to making sure that we do everything we can, water handling equipment, bulldozers, people, to accomplish that task. And so we are very diligently working in that area.
All right, do we have any more questions in the room? All right, right back here. Can we get the mic going over here?
You mentioned some afterthought information that maybe the community can get with you and discuss things. I think it'd be very important for Skylar, his family, that if you can get that information for the folks that are on the camera listening, if that can be disseminated to the folks around here, so when that meeting comes, probably I'm looking at maybe October because of all the fires that's going to happen between now and then. But some of the concerns you mentioned was for those people, choke points at Scott River and Quartz Valley Road as being one of the only avenues into Quartz Valley. Yesterday there was 5 lowboys parked out there right at that closure, and probably about 15 units of forestry personnel staged there. That didn't make sense. That's one of the important things that you're saying is that that's the only avenue in and out of Quartz Valley. And it was cluttered with personnel. There are a lot of other locations that they could be staging. If it's that important, that shouldn't have happened. And a lot of people in the community are pretty upset about saying one thing and then allowing something else to happen. But as far as the afterthought meeting or the planning, I would really appreciate if that can be given to the folks, especially in Quartz Valley.
Absolutely. We'll make sure that we have one of our information officers come reach out to you after we break out here, and we'll get those thoughts written down and we'll get them passed into the incident management team. Do we have any additional questions here in the room? All right, we're going to move to online questions. Do we have any online questions in the chat that have not already been answered? Oh.
I'd still like to say one more thing, if I could.
All right.
I know that this is a long gone thing, but the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, is the right to free passage, and I know that we gave that up with the automobile years ago. But I wanted to reiterate that it is in the Constitution, and it was something that our forefathers wanted. That's oh, and just as well, I want to know why there was an exception allowed for someone to go up and log, and the community members could not leave if they were there, but somebody could go up and log. I can't seem to get my head around how that could be okay, but leaving to go to the store to get groceries wouldn't be.
Yep, we'll address those questions. Sir, I do, Skylar, I think I heard your name was Skylar. We will break out with you afterwards, and I want to get all those thoughts down, and I want to get that information to the team. All right, we'll move to our questions online.
So our first question is, with the evacuations lifted, should we leave our pets at the shelter, or is it okay to bring them home now?
That's a fantastic question. So tonight, animals are taken care of. We will keep the shelter open. I think we're planning to keep it open at least till Saturday. If there's a need, we'll continue it open. However, yes, absolutely, come pick up your pets. They're well attended, and they could probably use your affection again. One thing, we did get a lot of cats, and coming and grabbing those, that would be really appreciative. And then also, this is also one of those, we see this every year too. One of the big things is don't abandon your pets. Like our shelters are full throughout the county, so come and grab them. Everything's open, and yeah, thank you. Great question.
All right, let's do the next question online.
They're wondering about the retardant and what its effects on the watershed.
So for the and I think our AA might come up and give some more detailed on this, but retardant, we have retardant avoidance areas, and so keep in criteria to keep those out of the drainages and not put those directly into waterways. And so they take a very careful approach as they're applying those, and I've not heard of any intrusions into the waterways. So mainly on the ridge tops and places where it wouldn't have that direct interaction into the waterways. And so we've got a lot of regulations that reinforce that, and so they map those as they drop those. The helicopters, the retardant that they're dropping is very pinpoint and precise, and we make sure that they are not within specified distances to the waterways.
All right, any more questions online?
Yes. They'd like to know what the large helicopters flying nonstop towards Whiskey Butte Head and the head of Patterson Creek working on, and why so many heavy helicopters flying?
Well, the why is because we want to keep this fire the smallest footprint as possible. And so the Whiskey Butte, that was this stuff up in here. I think they're referring to this afternoon, or I'm not sure, but this afternoon there was a more concentrated of heat. As we went around the fire, we talked about the isolated stuff, but this is one of the areas where we had a little more concentrated heat, and the slope was pushing it back up away from the fire line. And so the cause of that, or what we were trying to do with that, is make sure that we can pin that down, get our troops in there so that they could put that direct hand line and follow it up with hose lays to keep the fire from progressing any further to the south. And so taking a real concerted effort to use the helicopters, dipping out the retardant tank that's over here, and waterways to really hit that hard and take as much of that active fire behavior out of it so that it comes back to the ground, creeping and smoldering type stage. So that would be the reason, and it was this afternoon a very focused effort to make sure that we didn't have any further fire spread to the south.
Thank you. And the last question is, where is it? Oh. Are structure groups resources being kept for a few more shifts, or are the Type 1 engines being demobbed?
So the structure protection group, we have gotten to a place where we're very comfortable with the resources that we have on site. We have started demobbing some of those larger Type 1 engines, what we call them. So they're the Cal OES engines that came from all over the state of California to help the community here. And so we've gotten to a place where we feel very confident that we can support whatever structure mission that would come about with the other resources that we have on scene, and we've started to release those. Can I just add something too? I know that I got up here and talked earlier, but as a fireman, I haven't got to get out there as much as I would like to. But one of the things that I want to pass on from our folks to the community is that we are very, very happy when we come off the fire line and we see those fire line or those messages from the community thanking the folks that are in here doing that work. And so I cannot express enough gratitude to the community for those messages to those guys coming off the line. During this event, we've had a couple medical emergencies. Today, we had 2 of them simultaneously where we hoisted one patient and air ambulanced another off the fire line up here today. And a couple days ago, we had a significant one where we hoisted that person off a line that we were putting in to help protect the communities. And so when we go through those efforts and we come back in and we see those signs, it means something to those people out here because they're from all over the place. A lot of those folks have experienced this in our own backyards at some point in time or another, and coming to help your community means a lot to those folks. So we deeply appreciate that messaging from you guys. Thank you.
All right, we're going on about an hour right now. We have additional opportunities. If you have more questions that you would like to get answered, I have information officers that will remain here in the room. Please interface with them, and we'll get your questions down, and we'll get them answered at a future meeting. Again, I want to thank you all for coming tonight, and we'll reevaluate maybe the format of this meeting, and if we need to do this again. But we'll get that message out and make sure everybody has ample time to get themselves back here should we do another one. So thank you all.